What a distinguished collection of scholars. I'm so excited to hear these 9 finalists, and I will remind you one last time that we have an important decision to make, and I ask you to listen carefully to these presentations, and then we will decide in crew which organization will get our hard-earned $2,800. So again, thank you for your work, and the order that our students will represent these organizations are, we have Jacob will start us off, and then Sophie, then Fario, then Alice, Hassinian, Jonah, Abrar, Julian, and Lucy. So thank you to you all, and thank you to these guys for representing these 9 organizations. And without further delay, I present to you Mr. Jacob Libby.
Hello. My name is Jacob Libby, and I would like to talk to you all about Madagascar's need for medical aid. In Madagascar, there are around 14 languages that are spoken by natives to share their stories. These stories are also told through traditional dances and song. Malagasy people also take pride in their production of beautiful crafts, such as silk weaving and lamba, which is traditional clothing for men and women. In these ways, the Malagasy people are able to demonstrate their creativity and pass on their stories. Madagascar is an island located off the eastern side of Africa that is composed of 587,041 square kilometers of beautiful plains, plateaus, and mountains, making it nearly 6.5 times the size of Maine. Madagascar also has captivating rivers such as the Mangoki, and lakes such as the Kinkoni that are home to wildlife and places of interest to natives. In 1894, the French colonized Madagascar and with force divided the land into 22 regions. After a vigorous battle for freedom, the people of Madagascar created a constitution which led to their independence. Madagascar's first president, President Philibert Tsiranana, was in office from 1960 to 1972, during which time he paved the way for Madagascar's independence. Since Madagascar was forcefully colonized, the medical system did not begin as an effective source of sustaining others. To assist in the rise of Madagascar, my research suggests focusing on Madagascar's success in the Sustainable Development Goal, SDG, number 3, good health and well-being. This SDG strives to increase health financing, recruitment, development, and training and retention of the health workforce, to end preventable deaths of children under the age of 5, and to achieve universal health coverage and access to health care services. It is necessary to focus on aiding Madagascar in this SDG because to be productive and happy, one must first be healthy. The Center for Disease Control stated that health is one of the most important domains of overall quality of life. There are many reasons that Madagascar needs targeted aid in this SDG. The first reason is that Madagascar has a low physician density of 0.16 out of every 1,000 people. This means that for every 6,250 Malagasy citizens, one of them is a doctor. Madagascar also has a low hospital bed density of 0.2 beds for every 1,000 people, meaning that for every 5,000 people, there is 1 hospital bed. Both the low physician density and hospital bed density contribute to Madagascar's need for aid. There's an increased death rate due to there not being enough doctors to treat patients. The limited amount of doctors and medical staff lower the amount of possible immunizations, which increases infection rate. And since there are a limited amount of hospital beds and doctors, many patients are not able to be treated. This graph illustrates how the medical difficulties of Madagascar impact the population when compared to most countries in sub-Saharan Africa. The infant mortality in Madagascar has diminished greatly from previous years, with a resulting quantity of roughly 50 infant deaths per 1,000 live births in 2013. The maternal mortality has also decreased from 700 to 500 deaths per 100,000 live births in 2013. These problems of insufficient resources for a sustainable medical system in Madagascar have many causes. Some of these causes include an ineffective or idle government, an ineffective education, and an insufficient medical budget. Through my extensive research, I've found that the Madagascar Ankizi Fund would be able to aid Madagascar in both the most efficient and sustainable way. The Madagascar Ankizi Fund, or MAF, is a nonprofit organization whose grassroots allow it to aid in the most effective way possible. The organization's main ways of aiding Madagascar are through holding clinics, providing medical training, and digging wells. Since MAF trains medical staff, they are able to sustainably increase the amount of qualified local physicians. Since it was established in 1998, the Madagascar Ankizi Fund has assisted Madagascar tremendously in their rise, through increasing the amount of doctors in the area and through providing numerous medical supplies. In 2010 alone, the Madagascar Ankizi Fund was able to send 8,000 pairs of gloves, 1,500 masks, 1,000 gut sutures, and 5,000 anesthesia needles. Even things as simple as these supplies that we take for granted make a world of a difference. We now have the money that is vital to aiding Madagascar in their rise. I ask you to support the Malagasy with the money that we raised by voting to donate to the Madagascar Ankizi Fund so that we may help others in the best way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob Libby, for representing the Madagascar Ankizi Fund. And now I call to the podium Sophie Shatkowski.
Good afternoon. I am Sophie Shatkowski. In my presentation, Macro versus Micro, I will be exploring the effects of an oil-dominated economy upon Angola's ability to support its people. First, I would like to share with you an Angolan proverb used by hunters. Go fast, killed an animal. Go slow, killed two. I feel that this represents the Angolan people's great perseverance. The country has shown an ability to overcome, whether it be 4 centuries of oppressive European rule or 27 years of civil war. Patience has proven to be one of their greatest assets. Furthermore, they have succeeded in keeping their culture intact. From the Mukabel people to the Mwila, pictured above, complex and beautiful traditions are still upheld today. Angolans have shown great endurance by holding fast to their customs, even through tremendous adversity. However, they continue to face challenges. Economic inequality has proven to be a major obstacle in the country's rise. At first glance, the country seems to be significantly economically successful, with a GDP growth rate of 4.2% and a regionally high GDP per capita of $7,200. But if we take a deeper look, there's a much different story. 70% of the population lives on an estimated $2 or less a day. That is 7 out of 10 people. In addition, as indicated by the dark red color of Angola on this map, it has one of the highest Gini coefficients in the world. This measure compares countries to a complete inequality of 0 and a complete inequality of 100. With a rate of 55 to 60, Angola is one of the least economically equal countries in the world. Now, why is this? What has led to this extreme inequality? The answer: exclusive investment in an elite industry, oil. Since the Portuguese colonial era, the country has shown a trend of exploiting natural resources. During the Civil War, clashing rebel groups used valuable minerals such as diamonds and oil to fund their attacks. But this heavy reliance on natural wealth has continued into the modern era. Oil now accounts for 45% of the GDP, but only employs 1% of the workforce. Furthermore, the profits from the industry go to an even smaller fraction of the population. This shows how a country with an abundance of oil 10.47 billion barrels in reserves can fail to support its people. What they're experiencing is a paradox of plenty. Natural wealth paired with extreme poverty. As is clear, the objective and dire need of focus is achieving economic equality. This aligns precisely with number 8 out of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that were established by the UN. This goal aims to promote inclusive, sustainable economic growth and decent work for all. This is crucial if a country aims for a stable, meaningful place in the world economy. As Jack Kemp says, economic growth doesn't mean anything if it leaves people out. It is clear that Angola has put dollars over people in its economic growth. Thankfully, people are working hard to remedy this issue. DW has made it its mission to improve economic equality in Angola. Established in 1981, it was the first NGO in the country and has played a crucial role in helping Angola rise. It uses techniques of poverty alleviation that include involving the poor in community leadership, improving their living conditions, and empowering them to become financially sustainable. These techniques manifest themselves in multiple comprehensive programs, such as water sanitation, participative planning, shelter, peace building and citizenship, decentralization, monitoring, research and strategy, land tenure, and microfinance. It is this last program, microfinance, that I will focus on more deeply. This aspect of DW's work most directly affects poor Angolans' financial standing and abilities. To implement microfinance in Angola, DW created a self-sustainable microcredit institution, Kixi Credito. It has now established 5 branches in the most densely populated areas of the country, Humambo and Luanda. It now has over 13,000 clients, and 64% of them are women. It uses solidarity group lending methodology. This is when lenders must form groups before they're given loans. Clients must form groups before receiving loans and must all pay back their loans before they're able to take out new ones. Through the process, they share business skills and check in with each other about how repaying the loans is going. This creates accountability and a support network for the clients outside of the mentoring they receive from professionals at lending offices. The program has proven to be extremely successful. Because of its high female percentage in clients, it empowers women's financial stability and independence. It also provides invaluable financial education through mentoring and saving practices that would not be available otherwise. Through this, it also achieves an astounding repayment rate of 94%. This makes it possible for even more people to benefit from the money that is lent. Clearly, Kixi Credito is supporting poor Angolans to become contributing members of the economy. But behind the statistics and the techniques are stories and real people. Only through these can we understand the truly transformative power of microfinance on large and small scales. Take, for instance, Albina Lucinda, mother of 5. She struggled to provide for her family due to crippling poverty. But like many Kixi Credito clients, the loan was exactly what she needed to escape this. With her first $150 loan, she was able to buy 15 by 25 sacks of rice that she used to start a food vending business. From the profits from her business, she was able to buy a rice cooker and chairs to improve how her business was going. But most importantly, now she is able to send her children to school, something that was impossible before Kixi Credito helped her with the microloan. Now Albina is a contributing member of her economy, benefiting not only herself and Angola, but ultimately the world. Though Angola continues to face challenges due to the paradox of plenty, Their ability to persevere has brought success to those left out of big oil's profits. Perseverance and microloans have aided over 13,000 Angolans to find a gentle way to shake the world. Pixie Credito has relied on perseverance to use microloans to make a macro impact. By micro, I mean loans of $100 to $150. What many Americans might spend on a pair of jeans has transformed Albina's life from poverty to prosperity. Our $2,800 could transform 28 people's lives from poverty to prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie, for representing. Thank you for representing Pixie Credito. So please join me in welcoming Fario Hassan.
Thank you. Wait, can you guys hear me? All right, how's everyone's day? Long day, right, sophomores? Yeah. All right. So, good morning. My name is Fario Hassan, and today I want you guys to join me in working towards eradicating hunger in Kenya. I was born in Kenya. The first few years of my life, I lived in Kenya's capital, or what us Kenyans refer to as today, the Green City in the sun. I vividly remember growing up not having much, but also having more than others. So my mother, that beautiful lady over there, taking a photo of me or something, taught us to be grateful. In fact, there's this one saying my mom would occasionally repeat to this day, which was, if your heart is full, then you've already fed your stomach. As in, have the heart to fulfill someone's needs and desires before your own, and in doing so, you have filled a need. My mother and her children had the privilege to come to the US in 2005, and along with them, they brought this African ideal of helping others before helping themselves. My sustainable development goal is eradicating hunger in Kenya. I believe no human on the face of this earth should be hungry when there's enough food in the world for everyone. Unfortunately, there are many countries such as Kenya who do lack in food security. So what are the obstacles this country is facing, and what are possible solutions? Before I talk to you about Kenya's obstacles with hunger, I want to talk to you more about the country I love so much. Kenya is a coastal country located in Eastern Africa. Its borders are the Indian Ocean, Ethiopia, Somalia, South Sudan, Tanzania, and Uganda. Here's a cool fact. Did you know that Kenyan highlands are one of the most successful agriculture regions and productions in Africa? Kenya gained its independence from Britain in 1963 from political resistance, and in 1964, it officially became a republic. Although there are many positive things that could be said about Kenya, it does not take away from the fact that many Kenyan families today are struggling with malnutrition and food insecurity. In fact, did you know that 3.5 million people in Kenya alone have been declared food insecure? And in addition, 352,500 children are currently experiencing malnutrition, with horrific numbers. Clearly, hunger in Kenya is a huge problem that needs to be addressed soon. Climate change and droughts have had a drastic effect on Kenya's food production. Clearly shown on this graph, the northeast region is the most vulnerable. This region has had little rainfall since this region has been has had little rainfall since 1991 to 1992. These conditions only got worse because by 2001, the region was experiencing extreme droughts, further increasing vulnerability among its human and animal production. There are many international aid organizations that help promote the Sustainable Development Goal, Zero Hunger. The organization I found to be the most compelling is Action Against Hunger. This organization acts in the fight to end food insecurity and malnutrition all around Africa. Working in more than 45 countries, this organization has impacted the lives of over 13 million people. Our fundings to this organization will specifically help implementing programs in nutrition, food security, and water sanitation and hygiene. This organization places programs in vulnerable communities of Kenya to learn about sustainable solutions they can later take back to their communities. In Kenya alone, 300,612 people have been helped. 275,552 people receive nutritional support, and 25,060 people have had access to safe water and sanitation. Before I end today, I want to take you back to my mother saying, if your heart is full, then you've already fed your stomach. So I ask you kindly to fill your hearts with a vision of a brighter future for the 352,500 children currently facing malnutrition in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you, Farhio, for representing Action Against Hunger. And now please give it up for Alice Kenny.
Good morning. My name is Alice Kenny, and today I am proposing equitable education in Niger through a nonprofit organization known as RAIN for the Sahel and the Sahara. Nelson Mandela was a great African leader. He moved a nation. He inspired its people, and he understood the incredible value of education. Today in Niger, people struggle every day just to survive. Families work hard to build something better, to improve their lives. Yet without education, their progress is slow and tedious. Because education is the power to grow, the power to improve. Education is the power to make a choice. With access to education, Nigerians can choose to make their world a better place. In 2015, the United Nations Sustainable Development Platform created 17 goals to change our world over the next 15 years. The fourth goal is entitled Quality Education. By 2030, the United Nations aimed to provide lifelong learning opportunities for all people. And that means educating women and girls across the globe. It means providing primary education for adults and children alike, and then going on to provide secondary and tertiary options as well. But education is more than just going to school every day. It means helping students to gain valuable and relevant knowledge. Niger is a landlocked country in West Africa. Niger's land area is roughly twice the size of Texas, but its population is just 18 million, or twice the population of New York City. Niger is a hot, dry desert climate, with the Sahara Desert making up about 80% of its land area. Niger was first colonized by the French in 1899. It was a colony of France for the next 16 years, until August 3rd, 1960, when it finally gained its independence. However, over the next 40 years, Niger was under 3 different oppressive dictators. Fortunately, in 2011, the most recent elections were considered to be mostly fair and equal. Unfortunately, political unrest in Niger led to severe economic strife, as well as high unemployment and poor government aid. But Niger does have strong industry. Yet this industry has a great deal of foreign involvement, perhaps too much foreign involvement. As a result of the low literacy in Niger, there are few Nigerians in power within the government or who hold significant positions in the economy, particularly within the uranium industry. Niger is home to 7% of the world's total uranium reserves. There are 3 major mines in Niger. 2 of the mines, Arlet and Agadez, are 70% owned by the nation of France. They are the 2nd largest employer in Niger and responsible for 1/3 of the nation's exports. One Agazalek worker described the conditions, saying, People work there because they have to, because they're poor. And he said, quote, "Slavery is back in the north of Niger, but with another face." In fact, 99% of all Nigerians will never receive any benefit from the uranium mined in their own country, and 80% have no idea that uranium even exists in Niger. The official language of Niger is French, but most Nigerians cannot speak French, or in fact are illiterate. And there are two old tribes living in rural parts of Niger, known as the Wodabe and the Tuareg. The Tuareg are nomadic caravanners living in the Sahara Desert. Their language that is written is called Tifana, and is so ancient it is thought to be derived from Berber script. Tuareg women are actually well respected within the community and own herds of animals, including goats and camels, as well as the family caravan. The Wodabe speak Fula, which has no written form. They live in the Sahel and herd a type of cattle known as zebu. They have many specific traditions, including cultural dances, makeup, and chants, which are primarily performed by men to call wives. Wodabe women are more restricted than Tuareg women. They often have many responsibilities that very rarely includes getting an education. Today in Niger, there is a profound lack of education as a result of rural communities like the Tuareg and the Wodabe. Niger is considered to be the least developed country in the world. Extreme poverty has presented an incredible obstacle for getting an education, especially within these rural communities. In fact, 81% of Nigerians are illiterate, and only 11% of women in Niger can read and write. This is because every day people in Niger fight for their survival. And when you're faced with the decision between life and education, you choose to live. But that's a choice no one should have to make. This graph represents the comparison between women's education and fertility rate. As you can see, there are 3 bars. The highest bar, consistently within all of the 8 countries shown, represents women who have never received any education. These women consistently have the highest fertility rate in all of these countries, meaning they have the most children. The next bar, consistently lower in every country, represents women who've completed a primary education. And finally, the lowest bar in every country represents women who have a secondary education completed. The bar to your left represents Niger's data. As you can see, there is a significant difference between women who have no education and women who have a secondary education. And that difference is 3. But what does 3 mean? 3 means that women who have a secondary education are having 3 fewer children than women with no education at all. I think that says something about education in Niger. RAIN for the Sahel and Sahara is a nonprofit organization working in Niger today. RAIN aims to provide sustainable livelihoods for rural and nomadic communities in Niger by ensuring access to education. One of RAIN's most important programs is the Agadez Learning Center, a secondary learning school for 25 students. Also, RAIN helps to support mentoring within Niger. This means connecting students with trusted community members and helping them to achieve academic success. This includes girls like Buha. Buha Aked is an 18-year-old girl from a place in Niger called Hamzain. She attended primary school in Agadez, a city about the size of Portland that is 25 kilometers from her home in Hamzain. Buha's family is extremely poor. If I did not have the opportunity to study with RAIN, she says, things would have been very difficult. Buha's family can hardly afford to pay for food. They cannot afford electricity or running water. But now Buha can study at night, under electric lights. The room she lives in is clean and disease-free. And anytime she needs it, Buha can find academic support. This is because Buha attends school at the Agadez Learning Center, supported by RAIN. I want to study so that I can find a job. I want to study so I can earn money and help the poor, like my poor parents. I want to find an education so that I can resolve village issues. Over its 15 years of existence, RAIN has built an incredible support system based on education. This includes community gardens. Gardens are one of RAIN's most productive programs. The gardens helped to grow nutritious food, as well as teach important agrarian skills. Women's gardens help to build community, as well as provide a sustainable food source. Gardens in schools have also shown to increase enrollment by as much as 20%. RAIN also supports women's cooperatives. Several years ago, a group of Tuareg women approached RAIN, asking for their help in helping the women to earn a profit through the amazing artisan crafts they had been creating. RAIN enthusiastically agreed, suggesting that the women donate some of the profits to helping local schools. Now, groups of women join together to use traditional skills and knowledge to build these incredible crafts. They have raised over $16,000, and half of that money has donated to local schools. RAIN is also responsible for digging wells. Wells help to support sustainable programs such as gardens and agriculture, but more importantly, they help to eliminate the task many women face every day of walking long distance to fetch water. RAIN has helped to build over 20 wells. RAIN also provides student mentoring. Student mentoring connects trusted community members with girls in rural communities to help them stay in school. But this faces a more important obstacle for girls. It is the culture of fear in girls' education. Mentoring helps to provide support for girls and helps them to stay in school and focus on getting an education. RAIN has helped to mentor over 790 students. Finally, RAIN is responsible for building the Agadez Learning Center. The Agadez Learning Center is a secondary school that provides education for boys and girls ages 13 through 17. The Learning Center is a safe environment to study and learn. Today, 70 students have graduated from the Agadez Learning Center. Education is a privilege many Nigerians cannot afford, but we can help to change that. Please consider supporting RAIN so that we can move closer to reaching our goal of providing an education for everyone. Africa is rising. The world is changing, and education is the key to achieving a brighter tomorrow. Together, we can educate the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice, for representing RAIN for the Sahel and the Sahara. Let's be a great audience for Hassanian Al-Khalili.
Very nerve-wracking. Good afternoon, everyone. As you all may know me, my name is Hassanian Al-Khalili, and this past 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we've all been doing Africa Rising, and we've all chose a country and chose an issue. It was really hard for me to choose an issue specifically. The country I chose was Ethiopia. Looking into Ethiopia, I found that Ethiopia lacks in many different places, like education, hunger, and natural disasters. After a lot of searching about Ethiopia, I chose to focus on education in Ethiopia. So to start off with, let me tell you about these 2 buildings. This is in fact 2 buildings from 11 churches in Lalabela. These were built in the 12th century. They were used as churches and as schools for kids. These churches were built on lava tufts. They were carved in the ground and inside out. So the Sustainable Global Goal I chose to focus on is the 4th Sustainable Global Goal, which states that all children in the world should have access to quality education. Why is this important? Like many other people think, education is the most powerful weapon that will that will better the world. So to start off with, let's get familiar where Ethiopia stands in literacy rate. As you see here, the graph contains 215 countries. The lowest literacy rate of a country is 27, and it goes up all the way to 100. Ethiopia's literacy rate stands at 39%. And then South Sudan's literacy rate is 27, the lowest literacy rate of 215 countries. Somalia's literacy rate, 37.8. Big countries like China and US, China's literacy rate, 95.1, and the United States, 99. So the best way to learn about a country is to learn about the country's history. So to start off with, let's talk about Ethiopia during the Scramble of Africa. Luckily, during the Scramble of Africa, Ethiopia was independent. Some history about the education in Ethiopia. Education in Ethiopia started in the 4th century, where the Christians came and taught Ethiopians about the system of school. This ran about 1,500 years, but sadly, only Christians were allowed to attend these schools. After 1,500 years, came in urban religions like Muslims and Ethiopian Orthodox. They did the same thing. They built schools, but you had to be from that religion to attend that school. After many centuries, public schools came in Ethiopia, where anyone could go to these schools no matter what religion you were from. Some causes of lack of education in Ethiopia are the lack of supplies. Lack of supplies is mostly caused from not enough money going to schools. Schools can't pay for supplies, can't buy supplies to the students, and they also can't pay the teachers to teach. In fact, this data shows that only 4.7% of Ethiopia's GDP comes from schools and literacy. Also, the second most cause of lack of education in Ethiopia is child labor. What happens is children fail class, they quit, they start working to get money to be able to buy food and pay for shelter. In fact, 53% of all children in Ethiopia from ages 5 to 14 are involved in child labor. So my organization that I chose is Global Giving. Global Giving works with the tribe of Atibis near the city of Atigrit. What my organization does, it builds a school near the tribe of Atibis. It teaches the children classes like English, math, and everything else like we get taught here. In English, they mostly focus on Arabic, English, and French. The class they mostly focus on is agriculture. They teach the kids how to plant and how to harvest fruits and vegetables for food and for income resources. It also teaches the kids how to harvest surface water. This is mainly cause of the most dangerous natural disaster in Ethiopia, which is droughts. In fact, one happened in 2011, and it was a crisis for the Ethiopians because it endangered 9.5 million lives. So they teach the kids how to harvest surface water. That's pretty much it. And so, as a whole grade, we raised about $2,800. And now it is also our choice to decide where this money is spent. And as you see on the right, this is the list of, it's the list of where the money is spent when it is given to my organization. Thank you all for coming today and listening to me, and listening to all these beautiful people.
Thank you, Hasinian. All right, let's please welcome Mr. Jonah Peterson.
Good morning and welcome. I am Jonah Peterson, and for the 2015 Africa Rising expedition, I chose to study water scarcity in Kenya. This is a current issue I will be presenting to all of you about today. In May of 2014, my life was changed by the exposure of a cross-cultural experience. I spent 3 incredibly valuable weeks in Kenya. And in those 3 weeks, I learned far more than I ever could sitting at a desk in a classroom. My eyes were opened to a new part of the world, and unexplainable part of the world. When I returned home, I remember many people asking me how my trip was, and every single time I replied with, "I can't explain it, you just have to experience it." I remember one moment on the trip that struck me hard in the chest. My dad, Dr. Capio, a professor in Kenya, and I were driving back to Dr. Capio's home one afternoon when we drove past a mile-long line of students walking home from school. As I stuck my head out the back window, many of the students made eye contact with me, with my light skin. They pointed and yelled Wazungu, the Swahili word for white people. They waved and smiled as white people many of them had never seen before, drove by. This single incident made me feel like a minority in a world filled with billions. Later on that trip, I witnessed a local, non-governmental organization working and having significant impact in the community on ensuring water access. I'll get back to that later, but first let me orient you to some information about Kenya, the country that I gained a significant amount of passion and interest due to my trip. From its beautiful safaris to its coastline to its tropical areas, Kenya is a magnificent country. Kenya is located in eastern Africa, below Ethiopia and above Tanzania. Its growing population of 45,925,301, 31 in population comparison to the world, has a large effect on its water access. Kenya is also 49 in size comparison to the world, at 580,367 square kilometers, a little less than the size of Texas. Kenya's climate varies dramatically, from having dry areas inland to being tropical along the coast, and has a significant impact on its water access. Kenya's rural and urban areas are separated. Kenya's rural areas being isolated also cuts down on its access. Kenya has been privileged to hold many cultures, religions, and languages, and of these, there is variation between indigenous and more recent examples. In history, Kenya was colonized by the British. However, fortunately, leaders such as Jomo Kenyatta, the first president of Kenya, led the country to independence in 1963. The Sustainable Development Goal I am focusing on is Goal 6. Ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Kenya has made significant progress toward reaching this goal. However, many aspects of Kenya's society has made it difficult for this goal to be achieved. 1 in 9 people worldwide do not have access to safe drinking water. That exact number is equal to 2 times the US population. However, an American taking a 5-minute shower uses more water than the average person in a developing country's slum uses for an entire day. I found a very scary and disturbing statistic from water.org that states, "The water and sanitation crisis claims more lives through disease than any war claims through guns." These diseases, broken up into 3 main categories, water-based, waterborne, and water-washed, are claiming lives very, very quickly. In fact, if you count to 90 seconds right now in your head, a child has just died from a water-related disease. Why is water, a foundation of life, so hard to access? Specifically to Kenya, there are 7 main reasons why access is limited. The first 3 are mainly geological. There's droughts, floods, and deforestation that all occur in Kenya and all cut down on its water access. The next few reasons are through government involvement. For example, there's management and contamination. For management, there's lack of government funding for management systems, as well as for contamination, there's also lack of government funding to prevent contamination from happening. One of the main causes of contamination is shown in the diagram behind me, which is pit latrines, which are basically outdoor bathrooms being placed too close to wells. The microorganisms from the waste travel to the wells and contaminate the water. Other reasons include waste dumps and animal waste, which also have an effect on contamination in Kenya. The last few reasons of limited access in Kenya is a growing population in isolated rural areas. Kenya's population is growing significantly, which puts more pressure on its water access. Kenya's rural areas are also very isolated and access is very limited. In fact, when I was there, we visited a Maasai tribe, and children of the home had to walk at least 200 meters every day to require water from a clean river with containers tied to their backs. This graph conveys water access in Kenya from 1990 to 2006. The blue bar shows the percent of the total population with an improved water source. The red bar shows the percent of the rural population with an improved water source, and the green bar shows the percent of the urban population with an improved water source. As you can see, from 1990 to 2006, the urban population has stayed relatively constant, while the urban population has stayed relatively constant, while the rural population has been increasing. One of the main causes of this increase is local organizations working within the community. One of the organizations, and the organization I chose to study, is the Safe Water and AIDS Project, or SWAP. SWAP is a non-governmental organization founded in 2005. They are based in Kisumu, Kenya. However, they spread throughout Western Kenya. Their mission is to improve the quality of life of the vulnerable in the community by building their capacities and supporting them to develop profitable, health-oriented micro-enterprises. SWAP's techniques have been very effective in supporting the people of the community. They develop health and water products that satisfy the needs of the community. These products consist of everything from mosquito nets to diapers and condoms to safe water systems and water purifiers. They also have a very effective research department that was founded in 2007, in which they take local, particularly household water samples, and analyze them for E. coli, chloroform, as well as pH levels. SWAP has also very direct work within the community. They develop various programs and increase access by distributing their products in various areas. Some of SWAP's most effective products are its water purifiers. The first one shown here is the Ceramaji, which is a ceramic filter. This consists of a clay plot that is thin enough for the water to seep through, leaving the bacteria and sediment behind. The next product is called Pure, which is a chlorine and other chemical-based solution. It is poured into a container of dirty water and then stirred until the sediment settles to the bottom. The water is then poured into another container with a tight cloth on it so that the sediment catches on the cloth and the clean water seeps through. WaterGuard and another product called AquaTab are very similar to Pure, except that they vary in price, so families can decide which product best fits their budget. I witnessed a local woman in SWAP that used Pure, and I was amazed by how dirty mud-colored water could change into clear tap-like water that we have here in the span of 5 minutes. SWAP's research department is very effective in finding ways to treat water and making sure water is safe to drink. In the lab, the samples are put through a small filtration system and then the main filter. Then there are two main methods to how the water samples are tested. The first method is the bubble tray method, in which the water samples are placed into the bubble trays, as you can see on the top right. The bubble trays are then placed into a machine, and the water samples are scanned. If the water samples show up as yellow, the water is unsafe to drink. If they show up as clear, the water is safe to drink. The second method is shown here and consists of a machine with 3 dispensers. The dispensers have paper circles on top of them and a funnel cup that is placed on top of the circles. The water is poured into the cups and seeks through the paper, leaving the bacteria behind. The water is then sucked through a tube into another container where another chemical is added. Both methods with full hands-on time take less than 1 minute to test. However, they yield very effective results. These results are shared with community leaders in international conferences, in journals, and other publications. These results have had a large impact on the community because they show as evidence to make sure the sources are safe to drink from. The findings have been instrumental in informing policies and implementation models worldwide. SWAP is very involved in their direct work within the community. First off, they partner with local Kenyans, and a great portion of their staff consists of local Kenyans. They develop model villages and what they call jamii centers, in which they distribute their health products. So these centers are strategically placed in areas where access is limited, like slums and rural areas. They also have health and education clinics in which they provide knowledge and try to educate the community on healthy habits and how to preserve the water systems that SWAP has developed. They also have an emergency response program in which they, for various situations such as droughts, disasters, and other various emergency situations. When I had the chance to visit SWAP in 2014, we visited a local slum that SWAP was working in. A slum is an overcrowded or squalid urban street or district inhabited by very poor people. I looked around and all the houses were made of metal and tin. The streets were dirt and the space was finite. I once again felt the deep, deep feeling of being a minority, of being privileged. Even though these people are struggling, SWAP has created a light within them, has put them on their feet. I witnessed the impact that SWAP has on the community. They have increased the quality of life dramatically. Water is a basic need for survival, and many Kenyans lack access to it. If you do not have clean water to drink from, you are not healthy. If you are not healthy, you cannot perform the daily activities needed to support your family's life and your own life. SWAP has provided the people of the community with resources, skills, and knowledge to live a better life. Not just by giving them a gift and leaving, but by partnering with Kenyans to reach the goal of ensuring access to water for everyone. I witnessed all of this in just a single day tour. Being exposed to their research, their educational facilities, and their interventions was breathtaking and eye-opening. SWAP, by partnering with the leaders of the community, can make a change. But to make that change, there must be action. And so I ask you to put your vote into me and to put your vote into SWAP to contribute to ensuring access to safe water in Kenya and empowering Kenyans to live a better life as they should. Thank you.
It's now time for us to show a big warm welcome to Abrar Ahmed.
Hi everyone, my name is Abrar Ahmed and I have been studying Darfur, Sudan for the past couple of weeks. I have been focusing on creating equal peace and justice in Sudan, and in particular, I have been focusing on Darfur. I originate from Darfur, Sudan. This summer, I went to Darfur. I spent 2 weeks in Niyala and Garcila. It was a wonderful time creating wonderful memories with my family that I haven't seen in years. To this day, I still greatly appreciate the amount of suffering both my father and mother went through in order for me to encounter safety and the privileges of having an equal education. This is where Darfur is located. The genocide in Darfur has claimed 400,000 lives and displaced over 2,500,000 people. More than 100 people continue to die each day. 5,000 die every month. The United Nations has come out with Sustainable Development Goals. My goal is number 16, which speaks to peace and justice, and in this case is ending genocide in Darfur. Goal 16 focuses on promoting peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable developments and provides access to justice for all and builds effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. This is a Darfurian report. This states the numerous acts of violence that occurred in Darfur. This graph shows the percentages of the killing of the family, of non-family members and family members. This graph also shows the Darfurians that were shot, abducted, beat, and even raped. Lastly, this graph shows the percentages of the village destruction, theft of livestock, destruction of personal property, and the looting of personal property. Here are some statistics that show the amount of Darfurians killed in the past 5 years of genocide. In northern Darfur, 115,000 people were killed, as well as southern Darfur. And in western Darfur, 98,000 people were killed. Now I will be introducing some of the causes of genocide in Darfur. Omar al-Bashir is the dictator of Sudan. Omar al-Bashir was responsible for the killing of the 4 Masilat and Zaghagwa ethnic groups. Omar al-Bashir is also responsible for the attacks on civilians in Darfur. Here is a picture that shows some of the Janjaweed men. Before I get into that, what is the Janjaweed? The Janjaweed are a group of Arab Sudanese men, basically a militia. But before I get into that, what is the actual translation of the Janjaweed? The Janjaweed in Arabic literally means devil on horseback. The Janjaweed played an enormous role of genocide that took place in Darfur. For example, discrimination. The Janjaweed definitely discriminated the Darfurians. They even called them the Black Arabs. The Darfurians were being discriminated by the Janjaweed because of the darker complexion of their skin. Weird, right? Considering the fact that they're all Sudanese. The Darfurians were even told that they were of the wrong religion, Islam. The Janjaweed also raped the women of Darfur, which gave some of them diseases like STDs, which even led them to eventually die. The Janjaweed also raped because of degrading reasons, like wanting the Darfurian women to have lighter-skinned babies, which was ridiculously inaccurate and just a racial stereotype. I bet you're wondering now, what else did the Janjaweed do? Well, displacement. After the Janjaweed killed many Darfurians, a large population of them were displaced. And in particular, 28% were death from displacement. My nonprofit aid organization is Save Darfur. Save Darfur focuses on ending genocide in Darfur completely. According to Save Darfur, their mission is to build a powerful, sustainable, and global network filled with genocide survivors, students, community activists, faith leaders, artists, investors, and human rights champions, committed to preventing mass atrocities, and this will lead to ending genocide once and for all. "16% of Darfur's work is administration, while 12% is fundraising, and 72% are programs to help Darfurians get back on their feet again." Is this sustainable? The reason I believe Save Darfur is sustainable is because this organization physically goes into the community and works with Darfurians in refugee camps, and they allow them to express their opinions about genocide and their life. Lastly, Save Darfur builds a connection with the Darfurians. Why am I passionate? I'm very passionate about ending the genocide in Darfur because I feel and believe that all Darfurians deserve a chance to live their old lives and to live a life without complications. So take stand with Darfur today to help genocide once and for all, and to give all Darfurians the peace and justice they deserve. And remember, there shall not be peace without justice. Lastly, I would like you guys all to please repeat after me with a little chant of what the Darfurians and Save Darfur organization do at the protests. So please repeat after me. Omar Bashir to ICC.
Omar Bashir to ICC.
I can't hear you guys. Omar Bashir to ICC.
Omar Bashir to ICC.
Down, down, Omar Bashir.
Down, down, Omar Bashir.
Obama, Biden, why are you silent?
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 Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abrar. Thank you for speaking on behalf of Save Darfur. And now, please welcome. Thanks, Keegan. Please welcome to the front, Mr. Julian Peck.
Hello, everybody. As you know, my name is Julian Peck. I would hope, at least. My presentation is about health in Zimbabwe, specifically the dire issue of HIV. Let me speak about a person who positively affected the lives of many. This person is Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou gave a lot in her life, and she fought hard for those in need and for those who didn't have a voice. When we give cheerfully and accept gratefully, everyone is blessed. This quote embodies why giving to those in need is so important, because it helps humans come together and make the world a better place. I'm here today to talk to you about giving to people who may be very far away, but still deserve our undivided help in getting through hard times. The United Nations came up with Sustainable Development Goals. I have chosen goal number 3, health and well-being for all. This goal aims to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. This is important because one of the major hindering aspects of a struggling country is often health. Without the majority of the population dying or being sick, a country can rise much higher. The health and well-being goal aims to end preventable deaths of newborns and children less than 5 years old, achieve universal health coverage, support the research and development of medicine and vaccinations, and to end the epidemic of AIDS. The UN is working to achieve these goals by 2030, so we must act now. HIV is a serious and prevalent threat in Zimbabwe, and to achieve health and well-being for all, we must address it. To give you some background knowledge, Zimbabwe is located in southern Africa. It is slightly larger than Montana, and it is known for having the world's largest curtain of falling water, Victoria Falls. This graph shows the HIV mortality rate in Zimbabwe and neighboring countries. South Africa is about 3 times larger than Zimbabwe. In addition, the population of Zimbabwe is about 3 times smaller than that of South Africa. But this graph shows that Zimbabwe is drastically ahead in their HIV/AIDS mortality rate. This needs to be improved. According to the United Nations, AIDS is now the leading cause of the death among adolescents aged 10 through 19 in Africa, and the second most common cause of death in adolescents globally. Yearly, about 39,000 people die due to AIDS in Zimbabwe, and the estimated number of AIDS orphans is 880,000. Zimbabwe has been a country ruled by the British until April 18, 1980, when it was officially recognized as an independent country. Zimbabwe has many cultural strengths. 86.5% of the total population is literate, and males and females are equal in their literacy. Kids are expected to have 11 years of schooling, which is significant. Artists and dancers are held in high regard in Zimbabwe, and sculptures and artwork fetch thousands of dollars in the international market, as well as much acclaim and praise. However, there are many struggles in Zimbabwe as well. Since 1980, drought and white emigration has badly hurt their economy. In 2000, Mugabe, their current president since 1980, issued a land reform program, which took land from white farmers and gave it to black farmers. This did not help their economy either. The new black farmers were not ready or experienced enough for the amount of land they were receiving, and this led to a further meltdown of their economy. As you can see, Zimbabwe's economy and governmental situation are fragile, which means that outside help has a profound impact. HIV in Zimbabwe has become a large issue, majorly due to the stigma around it. For example, police in Zimbabwe will accuse you of being a sex worker if you have a condom and abuse you about it. And only 8 out of 10 women in Zimbabwe believe they have the right to ask their partner to wear a condom if they have an STI. Furthermore, in Zimbabwe, 22% of women who took a survey reported that their first sexual intercourse was against their will or forced. Zimbabwe is struggling to prevent the spread of HIV due to their unstable roots as a country and the lack of accurate information provided to the people that this disease is affecting. The best option of assistance we can offer to support Zimbabwe is HAS, HIV/AIDS in Zimbabwe. They are based out of Lexington, Kentucky, as well as Harar and Bulawayo, 2 cities in Zimbabwe. Their mission is to provide life-saving and living support for all of those involving the issue. They have taken steps to provide free clinical care or access to such care, provide living support to the families and children of individuals affected with AIDS, provide educational support to children infected with HIV, and create a platform for an open discussion between Zimbabweans about HIV topics as well as other issues. HAS has created several clinics in Zimbabwe that support about 50 patients suffering from the disease by providing them with a stable and steady medication. So, statistics are nice, yes? But stories tell what HAS is doing much better. To show you a specific example of the good work that HAS is doing, I will tell you the story of Thandi. Thandi is an orphan of AIDS due to her father's death of it and her mother's slow death due to what was left behind. Thandi passed through many family members who all did not treat her well enough or were even abusive to her. She then attended Masia camp, where she found guidance and encouragement on her path in life. Now she has been revitalized and is working on her degree in media and journalism at a university in Zimbabwe. This is just one example of the numerous lives that HAS has changed. HAS is making progress on the UN's Health and Development Goal by actively working to accomplish the target of ending AIDS by 2030 through clinical services and support for all Zimbabweans affected by HIV. Through specific research I did beyond their website, I found that this organization needs funding badly, and that any support will go a long way in relieving the difficulties they are facing in their efforts. With $2,800, HAS would invest further in programs such as Home of Hope, a children's home that takes in infants and children from the local community, orphaned or otherwise affected by HIV, the Masia camp, a camp for kids of all ages affected by HIV that encourages trust and team building, and ISEN, a project that works to empower single HIV-positive mothers. HASN is an example of effective aid because the organization brings the people receiving the aid together in a safe place to solve the problem and gives them the means to begin combating it without being as disruptive to the community. We all need help sometimes in our lives, and it is everyone's duty to be there for their fellow humans when they are in need. It is the only way we can function as a universal world. Zimbabwe is rising, but it's not easy. Therefore, we must rise as well so that we can help those in need. You can make a difference. Through HAS, we can change lives in Zimbabwe, continue the fight against HIV, and be one step closer to achieving health and well-being for all. I urge you to vote to donate our money to HAS, HIV/AIDS in Zimbabwe, so that we can make a difference. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Julian, for speaking on behalf of HAS. And now, sophomore class. For our final finalists, please give a nice warm welcome. Put your hands together for Lucy Otto.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Lucy Otto, and the past few weeks I've been studying about South Sudan. The reason why I chose South Sudan is because that's my homeland, where I was born, where I took my first steps, and where my siblings were born, where my mom and my dad, and where my stepfather fought for his country. The main reason why I chose South Sudan is because I have South Sudan in my veins. We never know the worth of water till the well is dry. Thomas Fleur. This is my mom, Helen. We used to live in South Sudan. She used to walk long miles with a barrel on top of her head carrying water for her kids. After bringing it back, she would have to boil it for 2 hours. When I came to the United States, I was surprised how clean and pure the water came out the faucet. My sustainable development goal is clean water and sanitation. 40% of people don't have clean water, access to water. Since 1990, 2.1 million people have gained access to clean water. 41 countries experience water stress. Facts about Sudan. Sudan became independent July 9, 2011. Sudan also has a population of about 11 million people. South Sudan is about the size of Texas. The current capital of South Sudan is Juba. Juba is also the largest city. South Sudan has more than 64 tribes like Acholi, Dinka, and Nuer, and also more. South Sudan is the newest country in the world. South Sudan is located in Central Africa. This photo was taken by NASA satellites. This image shows that the northern state is all covered by desert, divided by the fertile Nile quarter. South Sudan is covered by grassland, swamps, and tropical forest. The climate challenges. South Sudan only has 2 seasons, wet and dry. During the dry seasons, crops don't get enough water. And during the wet season, crops get too much water. South Sudan is struggling to get clean water. On this map, the dark blue means the cleaner the water. In South Corporation, 11 to 30% of people have clean water. Less than 5%
of people in South Sudan get clean water from pipes, meaning the rest get theirs from untreated sources. My solution is to send the 2,800 to Water for South Sudan to build a well in a village. And the main goal for Water for South Sudan was about 15,000. But with this $2,800, we can get them 1/5 of the way there. Salva Dutt is the founder of my aid organization, Water for South Sudan, founded in 2003. Salva is one of the lost boys of Sudan. Salva's heritage is Dinka. Water for South Sudan built 40 new wells, fixed 20. Each well will provide clean water for about 1,500 people. They built and fixed a total of 60 wells, and if one well can impact 1,500 people, 60 wells can impact about 90,000 people. United for Peace. United for Peace is an organization founded by two people, Salva Dutt and Bure Ray Tut. Success isn't about how much money you make, it's about the difference you make in people's lives. Michelle Obama. I might be a high school student and I might not be rich, but that's not stopping me from making a difference in people's lives. Thank you for listening and hope of helping South Sudan.
Thank you, Lucy, for presenting on behalf of Water for South Sudan. And now let's take a moment to recognize all our finalists. So if we could please have our 9 finalists please stand and be recognized. So thank you to you guys for stepping up. Literally. All right, and yeah, one more time for the finalists. Woo!